Ethan never thought much about the small ad that appeared on his screen late at night. He had just finished another long shift at the repair shop. His apartment was quiet, and the silence felt heavier than usual. The ad promised companionship, comfort, and something called a furry friend from off-world colonies. It showed pictures of small, harmless alien creatures with big eyes and soft fur. The text said they were legal, friendly, and perfect for lonely humans who loved strange things. Ethan laughed at first. Aliens were real, sure, but owning one like a pet felt strange. Still, the idea stayed in his mind. He lived alone. His parents were gone, his friends were busy with their own lives, and every day felt the same. After staring at the ad for a long time, he clicked the order button, telling himself it was just curiosity. The confirmation message appeared quickly. Delivery in 3 days. No refunds. 3 days later, Ethan cleaned his apartment more than he ever had before. He moved boxes, wiped dust, and even bought a small cushion, thinking the creature might need a place to sleep. He expected a crate, maybe a cage with air holes and warning labels. When the doorbell rang, his heart beat faster. He opened the door and froze. There was no crate, no box. Instead, a young girl stood in the hallway. She was about his height, maybe a little shorter. Her hair was long and silver, falling over her shoulders. On top of her head were 2 soft-looking ears, shaped like a cat's but covered in pale fur. Her eyes glowed faintly blue, wide and nervous. She wore a simple cloak that looked too thin for Earth weather. They stared at each other in silence. Hello, Ethan said slowly. The girl swallowed and spoke in careful, broken English. You buyer? Ethan's mind went blank. Buyer, I think there's a mistake. She looked down, her hands shaking. Order says furry companion sent to you. Ethan stepped back, shock washing over him. You're not a pet. Her ears lowered slightly. I know. That single sentence hit him harder than anything else. He moved aside without thinking. Come in, please. She stepped inside carefully, as if expecting him to change his mind. Ethan closed the door and leaned against it, running a hand through his hair. His heart was racing. This was not what he signed up for, but sending her back felt wrong in a way he could not explain. What's your name? He asked. Lyra, she said softly. I'm Ethan. Lyra looked around the apartment, taking in the lights, the furniture, the quiet hum of machines. Everything seemed new to her. She stood very still, like someone waiting to be told where to sit. You can sit, Ethan said, pointing to the couch. She obeyed, folding her legs neatly beneath her. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Finally, Ethan asked the question that had been burning in his mind. Why were you sent to me? Lyra hesitated. Her fingers gripped the fabric of her cloak. Because I ran. Ran from what? From people who call me product. Ethan felt a cold knot form in his stomach. They sold you. Yes, she said. Not as worker, not as citizen, as companion, obedient, cute, safe. Her voice cracked slightly on the last word. Ethan clenched his fists. He thought of the cheerful ad, the smiling creatures, the harmless language. It all felt disgusting now. You're free here, he said without thinking. No one owns you. Lyra looked up sharply. You mean that? Yes. Her eyes shone brighter, and for a moment Ethan thought she might cry, but she held it back. Then they will come. Who? The collectors. They track shipments. If delivery fails, they retrieve. Ethan's heart sank again. He walked to his window and looked out at the quiet street below. How much time do we have? Hours, maybe less. Ethan took a deep breath. He was not a soldier or a hero. He fixed machines and paid his bills on time, but he could not just hand her over. Something inside him refused. Okay, he said slowly. First things first. You're staying here tonight. We'll figure out the rest. Lyra nodded, relief clear on her face. As time passed, Lyra relaxed a little. She asked simple questions about Earth things. Why lights stayed on all the time? Why humans covered windows? Why machines hummed even when no one touched them? Ethan answered as best he could, surprised by how easy it felt to talk to her. She told him small things too. Her species came from a distant system where empathy was rare among the powerful. She had been chosen because she looked gentle, harmless, appealing to human buyers. She had learned English in a training facility, taught to obey commands and smile on request. Ethan felt anger rise with every word. Late in the evening, a low sound echoed through the apartment, a faint vibration in the walls. Lyra's ears twitched. "They're close," she whispered. Ethan moved quickly. He turned off the lights and checked his old security monitor. A strange shape hovered at the end of the street, half hidden by shadows. It did not look like any human vehicle. "What do they want from you?" Ethan asked quietly. "Control," Lyra said. "They fear choice." The sound grew louder. Ethan grabbed his jacket and a small toolkit without knowing why. "Is there another way out?" Lyra pointed to the fire escape. They moved quickly but quietly. The night air was cold and Lyra shivered. Ethan gave her his jacket without a word. Her eyes widened, but she accepted it. As they climbed down, a sharp beam of light swept across the building. A mechanical voice echoed in a language Ethan did not understand. "They found us," Lyra said. Ethan's mind raced. He thought of all the times humans were underestimated. He thought of old stories where cleverness mattered more than strength. "Can you hide your energy?" he asked suddenly. "Yes," she said, "for a short time." "Do it. Follow me." They slipped into an alley filled with old machines and scrap. Ethan knew this place. He had worked here before, fixing broken equipment for cheap owners. He moved fast, pulling cables, opening panels, creating chaos that only he understood. The beam of light scanned the alley, confused by the sudden signals. Lyra pressed close to him, trusting him without question. Minutes passed. The hovering craft moved away, its search unsuccessful. When the silence returned, Ethan let out a shaky breath. Lyra looked at him with something like awe. "You are not weak," she said. Ethan gave a tired smile. Humans rarely are. They returned to the apartment before dawn. Ethan locked the door and leaned against it, exhausted. Lyra stood in the middle of the room, holding his jacket tightly. "I don't know what happens next," she said. "Neither do I," Ethan replied. "But you're not facing it alone." She nodded slowly, and for the first time since arriving, she smiled without fear. Outside, far above Earth, unknown eyes watched the planet with new interest. A simple delivery had gone wrong. And somewhere in the vast galaxy, a quiet decision was being made. Humans were not as harmless as advertised. Morning came slowly. Gray light slipped through the window, touching the walls and the floor. Ethan had not slept much. Every small sound made him tense. Every passing shadow outside the window made him think the collectors had returned. Lyra sat quietly at the small table, holding a cup of warm water with both hands. She did not drink much, only enjoyed the heat. Her ears moved often, reacting to sounds Ethan could not hear. "They will not return so soon," she said softly. "They believe we escaped by chance, not planning." "That's good," Ethan replied, though he did not fully believe it. "Because we need time, time to think. Time to understand what they were facing." Ethan opened his computer and pulled up the order confirmation. The company name was strange, written in symbols mixed with English letters. He tried to access the customer service page, but it redirected him again and again, always ending at a blank screen. "It's hidden," he muttered. Lyra leaned closer, watching with interest. "That symbol," she said, pointing, "belongs to a trade group, not legal, but protected." "Protected by who?" "By those who profit," Ethan sighed. "Figures." He spent hours digging deeper, using old contacts and forgotten forums. Humans who traded with aliens were careful, secretive. But Ethan knew how machines thought, how systems hid their weakest points. By late afternoon, he found fragments of data, shipping routes, payment codes, names written in half-translated language. His hands shook slightly. "This isn't a pet store," he said. "It's a trafficking network. They sell beings like you across multiple systems." Lyra nodded. "I know, you knew all along." "Yes, but knowing does not mean escaping." Ethan looked at her. She was calm, but her fingers trembled. "You escaped anyway." "Because you ordered me," she said simply. The words felt heavy. Ethan realized how close he had come to being part of something terrible. He closed the computer and leaned back. "We can't just hide," he said. "They'll keep searching." Lyra hesitated. "There may be another way." She stood and closed her eyes. The air around her seemed to hum softly. For a moment, Ethan felt pressure like standing near a strong machine. "My kind can sense energy patterns," she explained. "Yours are loud, chaotic, hard to predict." Ethan raised an eyebrow. "Is that good?" "Yes," she said. "They rely on order. Humans rely on change." That night, Ethan took Lyra outside again, this time carefully. They wore simple clothes, nothing that would draw attention. Lyra hid her ears beneath a hood. She walked close to him, copying his movements. They visited the old industrial district, where unused buildings and broken tech filled the streets. Ethan knew a small workshop there, abandoned but still powered. Inside, he began working without rest. He built signal blockers from scrap, small devices that confused scanners. Lyra watched, fascinated. "You build like a thinker," she said. "You fight like a survivor," he replied. Their trust grew with every hour. Lyra helped where she could, using her senses to warn him when drones passed overhead. Once, a small scout slipped through the alley. Ethan froze, but Lyra stepped forward, her eyes glowing brightly. The drone shut down midair and fell to the ground. Ethan stared. "You could have done that earlier." "Yes," she said quietly, "but power always has a cost. Now they know I am not broken." That worried him. But there was also hope in it. On the third night, the collectors returned. This time they did not hide. The sky above the district shimmered as a larger ship appeared, dark and silent. Lights cut through the streets, searching. Ethan felt fear, sharp and cold. "It's now or never." They moved fast. Ethan activated every trap he had built. Signals bounced wildly. Machines failed. The collectors grew confused, their voices angry. Lyra stood beside Ethan, no longer hiding. Her posture was straight, strong. "They think humans are weak," she said. "They think compassion is a flaw." Ethan smiled grimly. "They're about to learn." The collectors broke into the workshop. Tall, metallic figures with glowing eyes filled the doorway. Their leader spoke in clear English. "Return the asset." "This matter does not concern you, human." Ethan stepped forward. "She's not an asset." Lyra raised her hand. Energy rippled outward, knocking the collectors back. Ethan triggered an explosion, not deadly but blinding. Smoke filled the room. They ran. Through tunnels, over broken paths, using every trick Ethan knew. The collectors followed, but they were slow to adapt. Humans were not. At the edge of the district, they stopped. The ship above flickered, damaged by interference. Lyra looked up, her eyes shining. "This world is not defenseless." Ethan nodded. "And neither are you." The ship retreated, vanishing into the night. Silence returned. They stood together, breathing hard. "It's not over," Lyra said. "I know," Ethan replied. "But now they know something too." "What is that?" "That humans don't give up what they choose to protect." Lyra looked at him, a small, steady smile on her face. Somewhere far away, the network adjusted its plans. Earth was no longer just a market. It was a risk. The days after the retreat were tense but quiet. Ethan and Lyra moved again, leaving the industrial district before sunrise. Ethan knew better than to stay in one place for too long. Humans survived by adapting, by never letting enemies get comfortable. They settled in an old coastal town where broken satellites and sea winds interfered with most long-range scans. The place felt forgotten, which made it perfect. Lyra spent hours watching humans from a distance, fishermen repairing nets, children running along the shore. Old machines patched together to last one more year. She noticed something the collectors never taught her. Humans fixed what others threw away. Ethan worked constantly. He contacted people he trusted, humans who had seen strange things and never asked questions. Engineers, data runners, and one retired signals officer who hated bullies of any species. None of them knew Lyra's full story, but they believed Ethan. That belief mattered. Together, they built something small but powerful. A broadcasting node disguised as old weather equipment. It was not a weapon. It was a voice. Lyra helped tune it. Her senses could feel the hidden frequencies alien ships used to communicate. She adjusted the device carefully, sweat forming on her brow. "If this works," Ethan said, "the whole network hears us." "They will try to silence it," Lyra replied. "That's fine," he said. "We only need one message." The collectors arrived on the 7th night. This time they did not come quietly. 3 ships appeared above the ocean, dark shapes blocking the stars. The sea churned beneath them. Lights swept the shore. People ran. Alarms rang. Ethan stood firm beside Lyra on the cliff. "You don't have to do this," he said quietly. Lyra looked at him. Her fear was gone, replaced by something stronger. "I choose to." The collectors landed, their leader stepping forward. Its voice echoed, calm but cold. "Lyra, you are property. Return, and the human will be spared." Lyra stepped closer to the edge. "I was never property." The leader paused. That hesitation was all Ethan needed. He activated the broadcast. Lyra spoke, her voice carried across space. She told her story. She spoke of training rooms and chains made of laws instead of metal. She spoke of humans, of one human who saw her as a person without being told to. Her words spread, not just to the collectors, but to buyers, traders, and watchers across nearby systems. And something unexpected happened. Others responded. Signals lit up. Messages from freed workers, from hidden colonies, from species who had suffered quietly. The network trembled under the weight of truth. The collectors attacked. Ethan triggered the final defense. Human-made chaos. Flares, false signals, electromagnetic bursts timed with the ocean storms. The alien ships faltered, systems overwhelmed by unpredictability. Lyra raised her hands, energy flowing freely now. She did not aim to destroy. She aimed to disable. One ship fell into the sea, sinking harmlessly. Another fled. The leader stood frozen as its control vanished. Human authorities arrived soon after, drawn by the chaos. They saw enough to ask questions, enough to act. By morning, the cliff was quiet again. Weeks passed. The network collapsed faster than anyone expected. Too many eyes, too many voices. Earth became known not as a market, but as a warning. Lyra stood on the same cliff one evening, watching the sunset. Ethan joined her. "You could leave," he said. "Go anywhere." She smiled softly. "I already chose my world," Ethan laughed. "Guess I never did get a furry friend." Lyra's ears twitched playfully. "You got something better." Above them, stars shone brightly. Somewhere out there, the galaxy had learned a simple lesson. Humans did not buy people. They stood with them.